Welcome to Architect of Tomorrow. We don't just write code here, we design the systems that run the world.
All right, today we're diving into one of the absolute biggest challenges in scaling AI. And that's how in the world do you get a bunch of AI agents to actually work together without, setting the whole system on fire? The solution is a really cool concept called an Agentic Mesh. And trust me, understanding this is going to be crucial for building the next wave of AI. You know the feeling, right? You build a single AI agent. It does its one job perfectly. It's smart, it's efficient, a total win. And so, of course, the very next thought is, hey, let's make more of these. And this is where it all falls apart. The second you try to get 2 or 3 or 10 of these brilliant agents to collaborate, you don't get 10 times the brilliance. Oh no, you get pure chaos. They're tripping over each other, making a huge mess, and everything grinds to a halt. And I mean real problems here. We're talking agents overwriting each other's work, making decisions based on old data, and just flat out contradicting each other. This isn't just some simple bug. It's a massive systems failure, and it's called the multi-agent coordination problem. It's one of the biggest roadblocks in AI today. So let's break this down. Let's really get into why this is a full-blown crisis. It's not just about a little bit of messiness. It's about the very real, very painful consequences that this chaos creates. To make this super clear, let's just imagine a typical automated customer support system. A customer comes in with a request that actually touches on 2 different goals. They want a refund, but the company also wants to keep them as a customer. This is where it gets really, really tricky. So, in a system with 0 coordination, here's the disaster that unfolds. The refund agent does its job. Boom. Refund processed. But at the exact same moment, the retention agent sees an active account and thinks, hey, let's extend their premium subscription to be helpful. The result? The customer gets their money back and then is immediately charged again. Now you have a furious customer and your database is a complete disaster. Okay, now let's rewind and see how this should work with a little bit of control. In an orderly system, a coordinator agent steps in first. It tells the refund agent, hey, you go first, and lock that customer record so no one else can touch it. The refund agent does its thing. Meanwhile, the retention agent sees the lock and just waits. Once the refund is done and the lock is released, then it does its job. The outcome? A happy customer and perfectly clean, reliable data. That difference, that layer of control that brought order from chaos, that is called orchestration. It's the secret sauce that turns a chaotic mob of agents into a finely tuned team. You can almost think of it like the conductor of an orchestra, making sure every instrument plays its part at exactly the right time. So, what really is orchestration? Well, it's not just one magical thing. It's actually a whole stack of different technologies that have to work together perfectly. Let's peel back the layers and see what makes it tick. At its core, orchestration is built on 4 key layers. First up is discovery, which is basically a phone book so agents can find each other. Second is a protocol, a shared language so they can actually talk. Third, and this is a big one, is consensus, which is a system for breaking ties and resolving disagreements. And the 4th layer, the one that makes all of this manageable, that's the mesh. And that brings us to the heart of the matter, because trying to manage those first 3 layers by hand is an absolute nightmare. We need a way to automate it. We need the Agentic Mesh. I mean, just think about it. Manually configuring how every single agent discovers, communicates with, and agrees with every other agent in the system, it's impossible. It just doesn't scale. The mesh is the elegant solution. It's an infrastructure layer that just handles all that complexity for you right under the hood. Now, for anyone out there who's worked with microservices, this should be a massive aha moment. We've solved this exact problem before for services with something called a service mesh, tools like Istio, for example. The Agentic Mesh does for AI agents exactly what the service mesh did for microservices. It handles all the ugly, difficult plumbing of communication, failures, and monitoring. So what do you get right out of the box with a mesh? Well, it automatically routes requests to the healthiest, best agent for the job. If an agent goes down, the mesh just retries with a backup, no problem. It enforces the rules to solve those messy conflicts we saw earlier. And, this is so important, it gives you one single dashboard to see exactly what every agent is doing at any given time. What this all boils down to is a beautiful, clean separation of concerns. It lets your developers focus on what they're amazing at, building brilliant, specialized AI agents. And the mesh, It takes care of the incredibly hard distributed systems problem of making them all play nicely together. Okay, this technology is clearly powerful stuff. But let's get real for a second. What does this actually mean for you? Why should you be paying super close attention to this right now? Well, first off, this isn't some far-off futuristic idea. The biggest names in the game are already building it. Anthropic is putting this kind of orchestration right into their products. OpenAI is all in on what they call agent networks. And Google DeepMind is literally writing the papers on how to do it. The train is definitely leaving the station. And check out how fast this is moving. We're seeing the first proprietary versions coming out now. Next year, you can bet we'll see the first big open source projects. By 2027, this will just be the standard way you build serious AI systems, and by 2028, you'll be buying it as a simple managed service from your cloud provider. This creates a wild opportunity. Right now, there are maybe, and I'm being generous, 100 people on the planet who truly, deeply understand this stuff. But by 2027, the demand for engineers who can build and run these systems is going to be something like 100,000. That is a massive, massive gap between supply and demand. And what happens when you have a supply and demand gap like that? Yep, big salaries. The architects and engineers who can solve these insane coordination problems will easily be looking at salaries well north of $250,000. So why so valuable? Because this is genuinely one of the hardest problems in computer science, period. Just getting distributed systems to work together is already hard. But now you're adding AI agents that are non-deterministic, they're unpredictable, they might change their minds. Managing that level of complexity, that's expert-level nightmare mode stuff. So the takeaway here is pretty simple. The Agentic Mesh is the answer to one of the fundamental scaling problems in AI. This whole space is going to define the future of the field, and it's going to create a huge demand for a totally new kind of expert. This is arguably the toughest problem in AI right now, and it's just waiting for a new generation of builders to come and solve it. So the only real question left is, are you going to be one of them?